What a week it was in the NFL, and we have a monster Monday night game tonight for first place in the AFC East. It's the Jake Asman Football Show. A lot to talk about, and guess what? The show starts right now.
Oh, yeah. It's time for the Jake Asman Football Show. Brought to you by BetUS. Expert betting odds and fantasy stats. So let's get into some NFL football. Brought to you by our friends at BetUS. So get your questions ready. Here's your host, Jake Asman.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. The NFL never disappoints. New twists and turns, and we will hit on some of the top storylines from the Week 6 slate. And, of course, we got one more game tonight. If you want to wager on the Jets and the Bills, spread is down to just one, favoring the Bills. Jets, a home underdog against a divisional opponent. A lot of bettors like to bet the home team in that scenario. I guess we'll find out if they will end up being right. Once again, BetUS is your place for all sports bets. Use promo code YouTube150, YouTube150, and take advantage of a 150% sign-up bonus. Shout out to BetUS for being our presenting sponsor of the Jake Asman Football Show. Let's go and talk about the top storylines from the league, and we're going to start in Dallas. Yesterday was an embarrassment if you're Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. Happy birthday, Jerry. 82 years old. I'd imagine you've had better birthdays. This was a joke. How could the Dallas Cowboys be this pathetic? I know the Lions are a really good team. I want to give them their praise. I think they're the best team in the NFC. But should they be beating the Cowboys 47-9? I mean, Dallas, I know they're not maybe the same team. They got some injuries. We know Micah Parsons didn't play. We know Lawrence didn't play. I get it. 47-9, though, this is an embarrassment. Dallas being 3-3, they haven't beaten anybody. They're not any good. And the Lions are really good. But 47-9, this is a disgrace if you're the Cowboys. If you're Jerry Jones, how does Mike McCarthy have a job today? Seriously, he should have been fired at the end of last year. You had Mike Vrabel out there. You had Belichick out there. And I don't know if those guys are the end-all, be-all. But going into the year with a lame duck coach and Mike McCarthy, after you had to pay Dak and pay CeeDee Lamb, it never made any sense. This team went as far as they could go under this guy's leadership as the coach. He should not be the coach today. But Jerry is so dug in, it sounds like he's not going to do anything. Said he's not even considering any coaching changes. The Cowboys have not made an in-season coaching change since 2010 with Wade Phillips. Look how many years Jason Garrett got. It's just not something Jerry does, and I think it's a mistake. But I don't know if a coaching change could fundamentally fix the Cowboys at this point. And look, the Lions are good. Let's acknowledge that. But 47-9, they're destroying you? That is a joke. That is an absolute embarrassment. It looked like Cowboys players didn't want to be there. Dak Prescott's the highest paid player in the NFL, and he's going to have games like that, turning the ball over inside the red zone, playing that poor in a standalone game. This team is 0-3 at home now. The Cowboys are frauds. And look, the Lions are a fun team, really good team. But they were just messing around with the Cowboys. They were pantsing the Cowboys. Trick plays left and right, throwing to offensive linemen. What a piss-poor performance by the Cowboys. Cowboys aren't any good. You know, maybe in a watered-down NFC, they could still fight for a playoff spot, but I don't think the Eagles are great either. We'll get to them coming up. Are the Commanders the favorites to win the NFC East? With a rookie quarterback who's not playing like one and Jaden Daniels? Give credit to the Lions, but wow, was that pathetic by the Dallas Cowboys. And let me say this too. Let's not dismiss how big of a blow it is for the Lions to lose Aiden Hutchinson. That guy is a stud. He was the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year at the time of his injury. He was leading the NFL in sacks. I don't know if it's possible or the Lions would even consider it. Or if this team I'm talking about would even consider it. But don't you got to call the Raiders and ask about Max Crosby if you're the Lions? You start with that phone call. And if they say no, you call the New York Jets and say, hey, what's it going to take to get Hassan Reddick? I don't know if the Jets would even trade him. I don't know if the Lions would even pay Reddick what he seemingly wants, but we know he's got a new agent now. The Lions are really good. This is their best team they have maybe ever had in the Super Bowl era. They got a top 5 quarterback right now in Jared Goff. That's how well he's playing. Their offensive coordinator is a boy genius who will be a head coach of any job he wants this offseason if he wants to leave. Lions with an impressive win, but I feel like the loss of Aiden Hutchinson, I don't want to say it overshadows the win, but that is a big blow to an elite football team. So the Dallas perspective, they stink, and McCarthy shouldn't have a job. But the Lion perspective in all this, as great as that win is, losing Aiden Hutchinson for what is likely going to be the rest of the season, that's tough. Some other games and some other takeaways I want to hit on here on the Jake Asman Football Show. And if you want your voice heard, the Gusbuster hotline is linked in the live comment section. If you're tuned in live, if you want to call in and talk all things NFL, Week 6. I want to get into a team I already mentioned, and that's the Commanders. I know they lost, but the Commanders-Ravens game yesterday lived up to the hype. Thank God for Red Zone, because this game should have been on national TV. The biggest difference in this one was the Ravens were simply able to outlast the Commanders. Derrick Henry continues to be the man in Baltimore. Playing with Lamar Jackson just opens everything up for that rushing attack. It's like Steph Curry in basketball. The gravity of the defense always has to shift towards him. We're now seeing that with Lamar having that impact, opening things up, I believe, for Derrick Henry and vice versa. Ravens, to me, are the best team in the AFC right now. I know they started 0-2. They're the best team. They came within a foot on the out-of-bounds marker from maybe beating the Kansas City Chiefs opening night. They had their piss-poor game, the wake-up call game against the Raiders. Since then, they've looked like the best team in the league. Beat the Cowboys. Nearly blew it, but they beat the Cowboys. Blew out the Bills. Now a statement win over the Bengals last week. Outlasted them. And then yesterday, slowing down a Commanders team that's played some really good ball. Ravens controlled the clock, 36 minutes of time of possession. Henry obviously had 24 carries for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was a really fun game to watch yesterday as a neutral observer. I think the Commanders are the best team in the NFC East. I think the Ravens are the best team in the AFC. Maybe the best team in the league. Fun game to watch yesterday. Had to hit on that in the early window. Some other AFC takeaways. Steelers and Chargers win playing their style of football. You watch the Steelers go into Vegas in front of basically all Steelers fans, it felt like, and beat up on the Raiders, who need to trade Devontae Adams. Enough of the nonsense. Oh, he loves playing with Aiden O'Connell, please. Raiders are going nowhere. Antonio Pierce is not a good coach. That team is not very good either way. I give credit to the Chargers. Despite the health scare for Jim Harbaugh, they handle business against a Denver team that, if you watch Bo Nix, he stinks. I know he's shown some flashes here or there, but I don't see it from Bo Nix. Maybe he'll get better. He's a rookie. I get it. I don't see it. I mean, his stat line at one point in this game, I pulled it up because it's so unbelievable. Bo Nix, at one point during this game yesterday, folks, was 3 of 10 for 22 yards and an interception. By the way, for the Jet fans tuned in, Jets losing that 10-9 disgusting game to Bo Nix in Denver is why Robert Saleh doesn't have a job right now. And we'll be watching Jets-Bills the same way I'll be watching Jets-Bills later from my couch. But man, Chargers, well coached, just shows you what coaching does. I don't think the Chargers are an overly talented team. Their roster's not great. They have a really good quarterback who's been banged up. They have a outstanding couple players here or there on both sides of the ball. But it's coaching. Harbaugh has that team believing. They don't beat themselves. They play smart, fundamental football. Look at the time of possession. Look at the lack of turnovers. And you can win games in the league that way, especially in the AFC where the conference is very watered down. We saw yesterday the running game lead the Chargers again. J.K. Dobbins, 96 yards and a touchdown. That doesn't look like a dude that had Achilles season-ending injury last year, torn Achilles. Big win by the Chargers. I think when it comes to some other takeaways from yesterday, the NFC North continues to prove they're the best division maybe in the league. Packers dominated the Cardinals 34-13. Jordan Love, 4 touchdown passes. They moved to 4-2 on the season. And they're in last place in the division. The NFC North has 4 of the top 10 teams in the NFL. It is a very competitive division that right now is the best in the league. We saw yesterday what the Bears did against the Jaguars. Completely embarrassed them. I know Jacksonville's terrible, but still, for Caleb Williams to play that well, all of a sudden there's a real competition for Rookie of the Year between Caleb and Jaden. Both guys look really good. That was the best game Caleb's played by far as a pro. You could see him getting better every week. He's more comfortable in the pocket. He's extending plays like you saw at USC. But now he's delivering the ball on time and accurately. And they're allowing him to do a little more. You could see the confidence coming. He went through the growing pains as all rookies do, and he's handled it well. You got to be very excited if you're a Bears fan. You finally have a quarterback. I don't know if Caleb Williams is going to be the best in the league. I don't know if he's going to live up to the generational label we put on these guys. But at the bare minimum, you have yourself a legit 8 to 10 year starter in the league if you're the Bears. And when you're a franchise that's never had a true franchise quarterback, you're the only team in football that's never had a 4,000-yard passer. You'd sign for that right now if that's what Caleb ends up being. And I think he'll be better than that. I just think that's what his floor is now established to be. But that NFC North, man, woof. Vikings undefeated, had the bye. Bears look really good. We talked about the Lions already in the show, and we mentioned the Packers. That is a top division right there. There is no doubt. Some other takeaways here. Man, the Titans stink. Well, I think we knew this. But man, Will Levis, 95 yards passing, and you could see Calvin Ridley, D-Hop, they're getting pissed, especially Ridley. I mean, you have really good receivers, and they can't get him the ball. Calvin Ridley was pissed yesterday. And rightfully so. He demands targets early in the game. Said, quote, I need some in the beginning of the effing game too. This bleep is getting crazy. I suck today. I got to do better. But I got to get the ball a little earlier so I could be in the game here with the team and play well also. I mean, the last time Calvin Ridley didn't register a catch came in week 4 with the Falcons in 2020. Crazy. It's the first 8-target, 0-catch occurrence for a wide receiver since 2015 when Amari Cooper had the same stat line against the Broncos. Ridley was brought in to be the number 1 receiver there. He's got 2 receptions and 14 yards over his last 2 games. Through 5 games, he's caught just 9 passes on 27 targets for 141 yards and 1 touchdown. They can't get him the ball. Frustrations are mounting in Tennessee. You could see it. Not that they're any good. But why were the Colts an underdog against the 1-3 Titans? Hopefully you bet the Colts at BetUS like I did. They lose 20-17. Will Levis, not the guy. We're just delaying the inevitable there in Tennessee when they eventually replace him. Maybe in season, but ultimately someone else is the quarterback next year. Week 1, no doubt. Some other things that stood out yesterday. Look, the Texans handled business 41-21 against the Pats. C.J. Stroud was very good. But give some credit to Drake May. For a rookie, he threw 3 touchdowns. He did have 2 picks. The Patriots scored over 20 points for the first time all season. To be fair, he was better than I think a lot of us expected him to be against that Texans defense, which came in playing very good football. So, Drake May, not bad. Let's see him do it again. For the Jet fans watching, Drake May now has more 3-touchdown games than Zach Wilson has ever had in his career. Just saying. But Drake May, obviously his team is not any good. The Texans did what they were supposed to do. But he wasn't bad. He showed some promise. Once again, 243 through the air, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Not terrible. Let's talk about now the Philadelphia Eagles. Has a game ever felt more like a loss that a team won than this one? I mean, they're lucky Deshaun Watson might be the worst quarterback in the league right now. He's that bad. Eagles win 20-16. But they were back at full strength with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith in the lineup. You're at home facing a Browns team that was 1-4. They have a terrible quarterback. And this offense still doesn't look right. Since their week 1 win against the Packers, they haven't put up more than 21 points in a game. I'm telling you, the Commies are the best team in that division. We know the Cowboys certainly aren't. We'll get to the Giants on Sunday night last night. They're not. This division's right there for the Commanders. And how about Nick Sirianni yelling at his own fans after he wins a game and then trying to play it off afterwards and then use his children up there on the podium at the press conference as like a human shield so they can't ask tough questions? What a scoundrel that guy is, huh? You talk about an unlikable guy. Is there a coach more unlikable in the NFL than Nick Sirianni? That guy's got that smug face, that terrible attitude. Man, that team misses Jason Kelsey because he would keep Sirianni in check. He'd hold him accountable. That was embarrassing stuff from a professional coach yesterday at that press conference after he embarrassed himself yelling at his own team's fans in the stands. How do you expect your team to keep their composure if the head coach doesn't even do it? If they lost that game, I wonder if Sirianni would have been fired. I mean, he's the next coach to go if it's not McCarthy. I mean, that guy's a joke. That guy is an absolute joke. Eagles lucky they played the Browns. That's why they won yesterday. They didn't play well. Let's get to Sunday Night Football. Stay with the NFC East when we talk about the Giants. I mean, it's amazing, right? Both the Jets and Giants kind of feel like the same team right now. We'll see if it changes for the Jets later. But what I mean by that is this. You look at the Giants last night. Defensively, they were awesome, right? Defensively, they went out there and they played as well as you could play against a Bengals offense that entered that game last night fresh off a 5-touchdown performance from Joe Burrow. And the Giants defense this year has not allowed more than 21 points in a game all season. And they're 2-4. Some of it's on the quarterback, who we know is not any good. He'll give you flashes of competency and then lead an offense to 7 points last night against a susceptible defense. And some of it is just, I mean, I don't know, maybe a lack of talent. I know Malik Neighbors wasn't there, but man, the Giant defense, without Kayvon Thibodeau last night, playing that well against the Bengals, who essentially saved their season by avoiding a 1-5 start. Man, that's tough for the Giants. We know Jones is not the answer, but you know they should be better than 2-4. You know, if they had a kicker against Washington, they maybe win that game. You know, the week 1 loss to the Vikings doesn't even look that bad now when you see Minnesota is actually a really good team. Giants are better than a 2-4 team, but they're 2-4. 2-4 is the record. Bengals saved their season, though. I mean, they couldn't obviously fall to 1-5. So they got their second win. Their schedule's soft. They have a shot. But they got to keep Burrow healthy. We know he's susceptible to injuries. He took 7 hits last night, 4 sacks. How good has Dexter Lawrence been, by the way? All for naught. All for naught. And then the other game I wanted to hit on here. How crazy was watching that Falcons-Saints game, man? You got Rattler making his debut because Carr is out. Baker Mayfield is turning the ball over. He's also throwing for all these yards and touchdowns, and they're scoring all these points. That was a wacky divisional game yesterday, man. That was probably the craziest game of the day, just from like a swing of emotion standpoint. 51-27 the final score. But remember, this game was 31-27. And then Bucky Irving, running angry, had that big run and put him away. 58-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. A 55-yard touchdown on a swing pass. I mean, you had that in this game yesterday. I mean, this was a wild one, to say the least. And then the other game, if you watched it in the late window, who cares? Falcons do what they're supposed to do against Andy Dalton and the Panthers, who are now 1-5. So Atlanta's 4-2. You know, we'll see what they look like. You know, Kirk Cousins is obviously competent. He's better than Desmond Ridder. He's better than any quarterback they put out there last year. Taylor Heineke. Like, they're going to be in the mix. They're a good team. They're in a soft division. It's really them and the Bucs, it feels like, for that division. I don't believe in the Saints. You don't believe in the Panthers. So they did what they're supposed to do. But you break down this week, and it was a weird one. Let me say this, though, real quick about the Panthers. I understand they don't believe in Bryce Young, obviously. But at 1-5 now, don't you have to play Bryce Young? Unless you're already like, we're good, man. We took this guy first overall last year, and we're done with him. We think he sucks. He has no hope. If that's already their standpoint, then they should trade him now. Someone will give you something for him. And maybe they could develop him. You could maybe get a 3rd-round pick for Bryce Young. I know he was the first pick in the draft last year, so it's crazy to have that conversation. But I'm pretty sure they're starting Dalton again this upcoming week. They're 1-5. What are you doing? You have nothing to lose. I'd rather lose with Bryce Young than lose with Andy Dalton if I'm going to lose either way. What's the point? Seriously, if I'm the Carolina Panthers, Bryce Young might stink. But God, I'm playing him, man. I got to find out. Let's hope that, this reset maybe provided a wake-up call, or seeing the game through Dalton for a couple of weeks here, not having to start. Maybe he picked up something. He plays with a little more confidence. I wasn't the biggest Bryce guy coming out of college. I understood why people were, but he was the first pick in the draft. He obviously has ability. Don't you want to see it over Andy Dalton? I'm watching Andy Dalton yesterday, and look, shout out to my fellow redhead. I respect you, Dalton. I do. But come on, man. What are we doing? Makes no sense. So there's some takeaways from week 6 of the season. If you're watching the Jake Asman Football Show live right now, welcome in. We talk NFL multiple times a week on the show. We're presented by BetUS. Once again, YouTube 150. Start playing today and take advantage of that sign-up bonus for 150%. If you're a New York sports fan watching, we put in the New York sports parlay earlier with BetUS. Mets, run line. Yankees, run line. Jets, money line. You can make that same bet with BetUS. As far as the game tonight, let's talk Jets-Bills. Spent a lot of time talking about this on my Jet YouTube show. It's now or never for the Jets, it feels like. Typically, teams that fire the coach do get that interim coach boost a little bit. And I think this is a good matchup for the Jets. Bills are banged up. Shakir might not play. James Cook might not play. If they play, how close to 100% are they? We know Josh Allen's certainly banged up. I thought he was concussed. Somehow he's not. But he is dealing with a wrist injury, a leg injury. And I think ultimately, when you look at how the Jets have played the Bills the last couple of years, they've had success against this team. They have beaten Buffalo at MetLife the last 2 years with Zach Wilson as the quarterback. They play well against Josh Allen. He's Superman against everyone not named the Jet defense. And the Jets defense, I expect to still play well. Jeff Ulbrich is still calling the plays. They have a really good coaching staff there. The offense can't play any worse, right? You've got Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. Every team in the league would trade their running backs for the Jets' 2 running backs. Bills allow 144 rushing yards per game on the ground. If the Jets can't get the running game going tonight, when are they getting it going? And we know Todd Downing, the new play caller who replaces Nathaniel Hackett, he's someone that wants to get that running game going. So that, to me, is the key for the Jets. Can they run the football effectively tonight? Aaron Rodgers does not need to throw. You need to run the football because we're talking about serious 30-mile-per-hour winds tonight. Here's the weather report. Kickoffs at 8:15 Eastern, 52 degrees. NW 15G, 30-mile-per-hour winds. 20-mile-per-hour winds by the fourth quarter. So the game at the beginning is going to be really windy. And we know Allen's got a cannon. Rodgers still has a cannon. So you're not worried necessarily about, the quarterback's arm strength, being able to get the ball to their playmakers. But if you're the Jets, you got to run the football. That's the key to winning this game tonight. Run the football. And if the Jets do that, I think it's actually, as crazy as this week has been, a favorable matchup for them. And they'd be in first place in a division where, to me, it's just the Jets and the Bills competing for that division title. Miami doesn't have a quarterback right now. I know Tua is apparently going to try and come back this year, but when? And what's their record when he does come back? New England is in a rebuild. If the Jets win tonight, you're 3-3 with a head-to-head win over the Buffalo Bills. Bills win tonight, they're 2.5 up on the Jets, and despite some of their issues, they feel like they're in control of the division. And then the Jets would essentially be playing at 2-4, a must-win next Sunday night against the Steelers with their season on the line. Lose that and fall to 2-5, you're done. No one would have any confidence that you'd be able to turn your season around and get to 10-7 to make the playoffs. So it's such a big game tonight for the Jets. It really is. The line is 1 right now. It opened at 3, favoring the Bills. So there's money coming in on the Jets over at BetUS. And there's your NFL Week 6 wrap-up and preview for Monday Night Football this evening. Comments, questions, super chats will cut the line. You're watching the Jake Asman Football Show. Big shout-out to NYJ fan, our guy Nick Shine. He's going to the game tonight. He won tickets on Good Morning America, people, to watch the Jets and the Bills. I was gifted a parking pass by a great Asmaniac, so I sent it to Nick so he could take his son to the game tonight. So, Nick, have a blast, man. Super chat from Henny. He says, AFC's up for grabs. We got to take advantage. Henny, no doubt. Look, if you're looking at the AFC right now, I think there's three really good teams. Kansas City, Baltimore, Houston. Outside of that, wide open. Who can get hot? Who can get going? That's the question. It is all there for the taking for your team, Henny, the Jets, and a lot of teams. All right, Gustbuster Hotline's open. We'll do a few calls here on the Jake Asman Football Show. Gary in Fort Worth, Texas is first up on the show. Hello, Gary.
Jake, great show. I think this is the first time I'm calling in your football show.
Welcome aboard.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for taking my call. So two things. Look, the Jets running backs are obviously in top tier. But do you think the Commanders or the Steelers or the Lions would trade their running backs for the Jets?
They might. I mean, Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, like we were talking about Breece, like he might be the best running back in the NFL going into the year.
Yeah, I don't. You guys love Braylon Allen. I don't. I mean, he's an okay change of pace back. I don't see anything special about him. And then Atlanta, I would say, has the best running back core. I don't think they would trade.
I'm saying it's at least it's a real discussion. I think it's close.
It's top five, I would say. I say that their running back core is in the top five. I would definitely agree with that. But you mentioned Denver earlier, and this is so interesting to me because like Denver is in such they're in hell. Like they're in such hell. They're 3-3, so they're going to not be picking in the top five again. Do they pick another quarterback in the first round? Because this isn't going to work. Like you can't say we're going to keep going with Knicks, but they're not bad enough where they're going to get a top five pick. And get Sanders or Beck or whoever you like. So they're going to be in purgatory. We're going to be taking the fifth quarterback off the board again and hoping he outperforms where he's drafted. What is it like? I don't think Denver's roster outside of quarterback is that bad, but their quarterback room is as bad or worse than the Jets last year.
Yeah, look, I think it's a very similar team to the team the Jets were with Zach Wilson. I mean, you got to hope Bo Nix gets better, right? I mean, Sean Payton staked his legacy on that pick. Not his legacy, but his Denver legacy for sure. Like that was his defining pick. He ran Russell Wilson out of town, took a monstrous cap hit for that, and they invested in Bo Nix. And he's giving you some moments here or there, but every time I've watched him, I haven't been very impressed.
So two questions. Who's in a worse position with quarterback, Denver or Cleveland?
I think it's Cleveland because they're stuck with that contract. As bad as Bo Nix is, I mean, it's the contract's not going to behoove you if you can find a way to get better. I mean, Deshaun Watson is probably the worst quarterback in the league right now, and his cap hit for next year is like $80 million. It's something crazy. It might be more than that.
They got a pretty good backup over there they can go with if that's what they want. I mean, it's tough to bench a guy who you pay that much money to. Like, you want to give him every opportunity. I understand that. But it seems to get worse every week with Watson.
They should go to Winston, though, in all seriousness. Like, the fact that they haven't and they're now 1-5, like, I mean, how do you stick with Deshaun Watson? He's terrible. He's not bad. He is terrible. And, for those who don't know my background, if you're new to the show, I covered Deshaun in Houston. I did afternoon radio for ESPN Houston for 6 years. I was in Houston when Deshaun Watson, there was a debate. Do you want him, Mahomes, Josh Allen? Which young quarterback you take in Burrow? Watson was in that conversation, and he belonged in that conversation. And the fact that he's been this bad, it is shocking.
When he was with the Texans, before he came to Cleveland, he was the most accurate passer in the history of the NFL. He was percentage points higher, tenths of a percentage points higher than Drew Brees. Like, we forget how good he was. He was viewed as one of the futures of the NFL. It's just obviously all fell apart for him. But so two things. In my house, my wife's a big Bears fan. When the Bears win, the Jets win, and the Cowboys lose, that's a trifecta. We are on our way to one of the great trifectas as long as the Jets take care of business today. And then this tight end in Las Vegas, this kid is something else, isn't he? Have you gotten to watch him?
Are you talking about Brock Bowers?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, Gary, he's been unbelievable, man. He might be the greatest tight end of all time. Bowers has been good. His team stinks, though, as we know. I love the report from Schefter. Raiders leaking it out. Well, Devontae likes to play with Aiden O'Connell. Okay. I'll play along. One last call here on the Jake Asman Football Show. If you're tuning in, hit that like button. Subscribe to the show. First, Iconical writes in, is there a watch party or are you at the game? If you're talking about the Jets, I will not be going to the game tonight. I was offered tickets thanks to some great listeners, but I'm staying on the couch with my multi-screen setup. Yankees on one TV, Jets on the other. Going to be locked into both. If the Yankees weren't playing, I would be at MetLife later, even with these wins. GMB Jeff writes in, "Sup, Jake? I'm sad. I had to put my cat to rest today. Hope the Jets can bring me some happiness tonight." GMB Jeff, I'm sorry to hear that. And I certainly hope the New York Jets can bring you some happiness tonight. I want some happiness from the New York Jets, which we don't typically get. But for whatever reason, they got a shot tonight. They do. All right, one last call before we say farewell on the Jake Asman Football Show. Chiefs fan will wrap us up today. Hello, Chiefs fan.
I've been busy lately, traveling to Yu-Gi-Oh events, having fun, trying to move to Chicago.
Traveling to Yu-Gi-Oh events?
Yeah, I went to Georgia, and I'm going to St. Peters, Missouri this weekend.
Really?
I was going to go to Niagara Falls, and I'm like, do I really want to go there just to, like, spend way too much money in Leafland? I'm like, America rather take my money.
Let me ask you this, Chiefs fan. I got a question for you. Do you believe in the heart of the cards?
Yes, but no offense to Niagara Falls and Canadians. I was going to go there, and then they were going to let me in. My passport was like expiration by 1 or 2 days. They were going to let me in. And then I looked at the hotel prices, and I'm like, I called the Canadian government back. I'm like, nah, I'm staying. Your hotel prices are way too much. I can get like a week's worth of hotel prices in Chicago for that much.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah, but I'm hoping you guys win tonight. The Giants let me down last night in a parlay, and Mets let me down last night too. If the Giants hit the correct parlay, I forgot. I got too drunk to remember what the parlay was, but if the Giants hit the correct parlay, I would have been walking out with 30 grand.
30 grand?
Yes.
What? How many legs to the parlay did you have that you had a chance to win $30,000?
I don't know. Me and my friend went half and half on it, and I drank a bottle of Jangles. That's how bad the parlay was. Like,
I'm guessing you read it wrong. I doubt it was 30 grand.
Well, it was probably 3 grand or 30 grand. By the time halftime, I was drunk.
Well, I would say that's a big difference in price point, but continue.
Well, let me just say this. We were doing a drinking game.
Right.
For each time the Lions get a turnover and each time the Lions score. And that did not turn out for us. We were doing shots of fireballs. So that's why we were all drunk. And the one friend was keeping track of the parlay because he doesn't drink.
I see.
So I'm hoping the Lions trade for Max Crosby. But I'm like, this morning I woke up like with an extreme hangover. I passed out at 2 a.m. I don't look like the hangover anymore since I got myself up and started my day.
Have you taken a shower? Have you had some water, some coffee?
I did what Archer does. Have a Bloody Mary in the morning for the hangover.
Nice.
Yeah. Tomato juice is really good, by the way. V8 all day.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah, but like I'm hoping you guys win tonight. The Giants let me down against the Bengals, and I just hope you guys win because, like, I really don't like the rest of that division, but I like you Giants fans, and I like you Jets fans. The Commanders winning the division is something I did not pencil in. I had the Eagles winning it with 12 games, but now, like, I feel like the Jets, your division with the Jets, the Bills, and the Patriots, and the Dolphins, I feel like it's going to be down to the wire. Because it's going to be like last year's AFC South, but not as bad. Like, there's not going to have a 9-win team win the division. It's going to be 11 or 10. I think at the worst. And I'm hoping you guys can pull off the 11 wins. And I'm sorry for the language. Your GM needs to take his head out of his ass and stop sniffing his own ass and trade for Adams already. Like, come on. That trade could have been done 5 days ago.
Well, the Raiders don't want to trade him. They're being unreasonable.
What are they wanting?
They want a second-round pick, which is not going to happen.
At this point, I'm sorry. I would do the second rounder. I would do the second rounder if you can get Adams to extend for 1 more year or 2 more years.
Now, is it confirmed that the Jets GM is sniffing his own rear end? Have you confirmed that?
No, but like he's had his head up so far as ass in this trade. That trade could have been done. Hell, you could have done a 3rd and a 4th and then the third could have turned into the fourth could have turned into 2/3. But like, I really want you to get Adams because you guys know Rogers' highlights of Adams, the Packers.
Have they
If
played together?
They played together. If his special teams didn't let him down, he would have had about 3 Super Bowls right now.
I see.
Like, they let him down against the Giants, and then they let him down another year. And if his team didn't suck ass against Seattle that one year, it'd have been a Patriots-Packers Super Bowl.
I could use a Bloody Mary right now, Chiefs fan.
I mean, I could use another one too. Like, I just got done cleaning my apartment. Right now, looking towards going back to working at that lumber yard, but like, I don't like night shifts, so I might just bite the bullet and work at the Taco Bell.
You're gonna work at Taco Bell now.
I don't like night shifts. I'd rather work at fast food. Like, and I figured out, like, if I do move to Chicago, I'm doing a Waffle House.
Wow.
I'm gonna do Waffle House. The main reason why is you get to throw hands and you get to serve food. Someone says some anti-Semitic stuff. That means I can throw hands and serving food. Let's go.
Have you been at Waffle House where you've heard some anti-Semitic commentary?
When I was one in Detroit once.
Wow. All right. Well, we know you won't stand for bigotry or hatred. So
respect. No, none of that. No one should. But like, I'm hoping you guys win tonight. And I found out, like I said, I found a place to bet in East St. Louis to do my sports bets now, so I'm not losing out on that much money. And I put 50 down on the Jets.
Well, Chiefs fan, thank you for the call as always. You bring a lot to the Jake Asman Show and the Jake Asman Football Show, so thank you.
No problem. It was a decent drive into East St. Louis. It's usually scary, but I decided to go over there, played the slots, went negative 25, came in with 50, 125.
Of course.
But I don't play those expensive slots before I go. I do what the grandpas do, the nickel and dime slots.
Always.
Yeah. Peace.
Chiefs fan, thank you for the time. From Chiefs fan to Connor Long, who's home from school because it's Columbus Day. Hello, Connor.
Jake, how you doing?
Now I know why you called the first show I did earlier. Yep. You didn't have school today.
Yes, it's a great day. No school. So I wanted to ask you, Jake, we're 5 weeks into the season now. Obviously, still to start. There are some important games ramping up. What would you say, as it could be now or something you view as the season progresses? What do you think is the hardest division in the NFL?
I think it's I talked about it a little earlier. I think it's the NFC North. I think you look at every team in that division, they're all winning. Quarterback play has been really good for all those teams. Darnold, Caleb Williams. We know Goff has been excellent again this year, and obviously Jordan Love has really played well too. And they're in last place technically right now. That's how good that division is, right? The Packers kind of look like the team a lot of us thought could go to the Super Bowl these last couple of weeks, and they're technically in last place in a stacked division. So I think it's got to be the NFC North.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I will say, Sam Darnold, obviously the Vikings are undefeated right now. Do you think there is any reverting back to, he shows his true colors like he did in his time with the Jets, the Panthers? Do you think that happens, or this Sam Darnold's here to stay?
Well, I didn't think he played great against the Jets in London last week. Yeah. But, the Jets obviously played way worse, and, we know what happened there.
Yep.
I don't think he's as good as he's played, to be honest. I think he's competent. I think you could clearly win with him. He's got a really good coach who could help him. He's got really good playmakers, the best receiver in the NFL, being one of them in Justin Jefferson. So I think Sam could get that team to the playoffs. I do not think he's going to be an MVP quarterback, though, the rest of the way. Like, he'd get MVP votes right now. If the season were to end today, I don't think he's getting MVP votes by the time we get done with the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we always see those players, those, the surprise players who emerge, and then they kind of show their true colors. One more thing, go back to the NFC North. You mentioned Jordan Love and the Packers. They were picked a lot to win the Super Bowl. Now you look and you see, Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, both of them, they're playing great. Do you see any world where this team's competing for possibly the Lombardi Trophy?
Yeah, absolutely. It's still early, but you look at the NFL right now. I think it's kind of watered down this year. There's only a handful of teams in each conference I have a lot of faith in. So, it truly could be one of those years where, like, who's playing the best at the right time could get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. The Texans are another team. I saw that in the chat. I think they're, honestly, Jake, they have so much young talent. Obviously, you've covered them the past few seasons. I think they're a 13-14 win team, quite frankly. You look between CJ Stroud, I mean, the whole wide receiver room, the way Stephon Diggs was able to rally around and step up for Nico Collins last week. Then you have Tank Dell, who had another great game. Even Dalton Schultz is a reliable option. I agree with what you said. There are a lot of less teams this year that I'm scared of as a Jet fan compared to last year. I think it might just have to do with having Aaron Rodgers back. But if you just look in the, everything in, the whole NFL, there aren't really, like you said, any, really, really stacked teams that are going to really just keep up this incredible play throughout the rest of the season. But appreciate it.
Connor, excellent job. How are we celebrating Columbus Day? Just watching your Mets and Jets today?
Watching the Mets at 4 and then calling into the Jake Asman Football Show.
There it is. Let's go. Connor Long, everybody. No school on Columbus Day. I used to joke that the Jet season would always be over by Columbus Day. Well, how fitting. It's going to feel like the season's over tonight if the Jets don't win on Monday Night Football. And if they win, they're in first place. Oh, man. What a show. Thanks to everyone who tuned in. Enjoy the game tonight. Once again, BetUS is our sponsor. Promo code YouTube150 to start betting with their amazing sports book and take advantage of their 150% sign-up bonus. Thank you all for the support. Great calls by Chiefs fan, by Gary, by Connor. Thanks to everyone who tuned in to the Jake Asman Football Show. Do me a favor, spread the word. We talk football twice a week at least on this show, plus the usual Jet show for all my Jet fans out there. We'll have Cole Thompson with us on Friday for the weekly picks. I need the Jets to win tonight, by the way, to win/cover, and then I will have a 2-1 week. Cole already clinched a 2-1 week. He got 2 of his first 3 picks right. We make 3 picks a week, so I'm 1-1 right now. Need the Jets to have a winning week in our weekly picks we make on the show. Once again, thanks for watching. Enjoy the game tonight. To all my fellow Jet fans who are tuned in, thanks to BetUS again for their support. I'll talk to you guys soon. Appreciate everyone for tuning in to another episode of the Jake Asman Football Show.